Hey guys, welcome back to the Sphere podcast. Today we have back Eric Anderson. This is our final episode for the series, but today we're going to be covering gear selection, gear prep, and if you say at the end, a little short story of some crazy fish story that he has that he wants to share. Welcome back to the show, Eric.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, John. Glad to be here.
Perfect. So let's dive into gear. I know we covered gear on some of the other episodes, but I feel like this is a good place to just have like a full high level primer of like Central Coast gear selection. So where do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start by just telling a bit about how my gear selection evolved. So when I first started, if everyone knows JBL spear guns, that model before it was a company called Voight. I believe they made the Swim Master, and I had a 22-inch aluminum two-band pea shooter that I actually took my best lingcod with, almost 23 pounds. So then from there, I realized, well, there's opportunity for better gear to make a more efficient hunt. And so I ditched the scuba fins and the scuba suit, and you get the open cell suit, and you get the long fins, and you start to be more comfortable, and you understand, okay, well, this makes a lot of sense. This is the kind of gear I need for spearfishing to be more comfortable in water, more efficient, a better hunter, etc. But then for the Central Coast, it creates a whole nother set of variables and challenges that you have to face. You've got really cold water, low visibility. You can have some crappy weather. You're dealing with really thick kelp, surge, swell, and you can have areas where you don't see a lot of fish, and you got to know where to look. You know, where's the current? Where are the fish holding? So you got to have the right gear to try to get it done. So there's some key pieces of gear that you'll want. A float line, I think it's important, so you can mark structure, be able to see your buddy where he's going if you can't see him on the bottom. Flashlight is going to be a key piece of gear, especially when you get to the bottom and it's as dark can get. Sometimes in the thick kelp, it could be 75 and sunny, but you get to the bottom in 40 feet and it's a night dive. And you just have to be prepared for that. But yeah, I mean, if you get those couple core pieces of gear along with everything else that you know you're comfortable with in spearfishing, you should be relatively set.
So you said you have a 25-foot float line that goes to a float, and then it goes attached to your gun, then to a reel, right? That's
Yeah.
your setup. What float do you have? Do you just have like a standard, or do you have like a big one, or?
No, I don't use a float. What I typically would do is I would have a one of my spear guns attached with a bungee in the top. So it's just shooting line, say 10-foot shooting line, and the muzzle bungee attached to 50 or 60 foot or maybe 75 foot of float line.
Hmm.
A lot of times you can shoot fish, you can just let go. It's almost breakaway, but the gun's still attached. Use it to mark structure, different holes, or maybe even just mark a fish that you want to go up, get your breath, and go back down and have more time to line up on. I can't tell you how many times I shot a fish in a hole, but because I didn't take the extra time to get a little more of an angle, the shaft goes through, flopper doesn't engage, bounces off a rock, comes right back out of the fish. And then that sucks. You hit a fish and you didn't get anything out of it. So having that extra time is helpful. Um, but I think ultimately what I like to do now is have a hybrid setup. So I've got 25 foot of line where I can still mark holes, mark fish. My buddy can see me. I had the benefit of a reel. Sometimes it's nice. Also, too, when you're adjusting to a reel. In Central California, it's nice to have one. It's not always a necessity. In Southern California areas where you have a lot of visibility, or Hawaii, like when you talked to Brian recently, I believe, a reel is a necessity to get back to the surface safely, to not have to worry about leaving your gear down there and get banged around in the rocks and whatnot. So I use a little bit of both. But for most people just starting out, I recommend, a 30 to 50 foot float line, depending on your depth, attached to your gun, high vis so you can see it, you don't lose it. You can see where your buddy is and mark structure.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Talking to Brian the other day. Line management, especially when you're just getting started, is just don't bother. It's like a float line is just so much easier. Yeah, it can be a little annoying in like kelp, for example, but if you're not diving in kelp, it's like the easiest thing in the world. I'm like, I started with a float line, then I was like, oh well, the reels are so much more convenient when you're going through the kelp. But there's a lot of times where I'm just like, yeah, but having all that line and you shoot, you miss, you have to like reel it up, and it's getting tangled. Oh god, the tangles just that's a way to dampen a day right there. Um, When it comes to the open cell wetsuits, man, do you love them, or have you ever used like the closed cell like surfer style? I'm kind of like on the fence. Like I know how comfortable open cell is. It's very nice, but I mean they're so fragile. You know, I'm not the easiest on my gear, so I'm just like another hole I gotta fix.
I will say for bug diving, I'm very tempted to go buy like a 5 mil surf suit. I hate to rip up an open cell suit because I mean, sure you can put patches on it and things, but it's shredded. I've started to keep just this top, one that JBL ghillie suit. I have a 7 mil top, and I've just totally neoprene cemented the elbows, the chest, and everything, and made it almost bulletproof. It's like wearing armor. Um, but yeah, I mean, the flexibility, comfortability. I'd say they're warmer as well. From what I've experienced, I've tried quite a few suits, but then you're also dealing with like, wow, my suit just ripped because my nail caught it and put a hole in it. Like, how are you kidding me? Or, shredding on this or that. Um, this last trip, I ripped a hole in my pair of SEAC 7 mil bottoms I have because it just caught the edge of the boat on one of the rod holders when I was jumping in and tore a hole in it. So I think the durability is there when it comes to the surf suits and things. For bug diving, I'm probably going to switch back. I wore an Excel one-piece suit for years. That, yeah, it wasn't as flexible and everything else, but it lasted years for a reason.
Dude, that I think you're gonna just inspire somebody to come up with like the bug suit, and it's gonna look like
Yeah,
those new bug gloves where it has like the reinforced like bendable rubber around it, but just like come in there,
yeah,
just
yeah.
like give me the rocks, throw me against it. Who cares? Is there any other gear that we should cover that most people should be aware of, or did we get it all?
Yeah, I think it's just try different things out. For years, I found a mask that I loved. Then I tried a new mask. It's like, holy crap, this one's way better. Like, oh, that's not, so just try gear, try things out. Don't always have to buy stuff. If you got a great dive community, be like, dude, let me try your fins. The one piece of gear I think is your motor, your fins. I used plastics for a long time. I will never use plastic fins again, ever.
What are you
And
rocking now?
I use the leader fins, the fiberglass. They work really well. If anyone wants carver fins, I'm all for it. I think fiberglass, you still get almost similar propulsion, a little less dollar. But the plastic fins, it was like having bricks on my feet compared to these fins. So it's like, why? If you're going to spend that money on an open cell suit, then you got to get the fins too.
I agree with you. Plastics are rough. I think if you're just getting started and the money is the issue, then that's
Yeah.
fine. It's like they're so. I always take a pair of plastics just as like a fallback. Just I'm a
Yeah.
big fan now of ever since going to Baja. It's like have redundancies because there's nothing
Oh, yeah.
worse than going somewhere you break a fin, you lose a mask, and then you're just shit out of luck. So it's like I always bring extras. I even bring them in the car no matter what kind of thing. Extra gun, extra fin, extra mask, snorkel kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
On
that.
a trip,
What was that?
I was gonna say, on a trip, I've got two of everything almost always,
Yeah,
and I bring the same thing. Plastic says the backup, but if there's one piece of advice, the difference is very significant in my opinion. So,
agreed,
yeah,
agreed. And the fiberglass, it's crazy how robust they are, and I think it also you don't have to worry about like especially if you're shore diving. I think my mindset comes from the shore diving. I hate taking my setmas on my shore diving, even though I love diving in them. It's just I know that exit, I have to be so diligent not to snap them. And not that they're like fragile or anything, but it's just like, oh, I gotta time this. I gotta hold the fins up. I can't. So
yeah.
it would be nice.
No, it's a really good point too, John, because I've used the plastics a few times on shore dives because of that. If I know it's a pain, it's a hike, it's going to get thrashed around, and I don't have to swim very far or I'm not worried about making efficient dives, then totally. Same with guns too. If I'm going to get banged around, I'll bring the Rob Allen. I won't bring my teak, spear gun on the rocks, banging around if I don't have to.
Yeah, don't be like me. I took my wood gun and my carbons on this new rocky shore dive, and I was just like, this is I hate this because I know I'm gonna have fun once I get out in the water, but I don't like the, oh my god, I'm gonna scratch it, I'm gonna break it. What am I doing? That extra mental is annoying. But outside of gear, I know you have one fish story that is up there with the shark story. So what is that one?
Yeah, so recently my buddy and I were down the Channel Islands and down by you in San Diego. I see everyone for the last month, 5 weeks going after the bluefin tuna. We were trying to get after some sea bass and yellowtail. We ended up hitting a patch. We went recently right at the full moon that Friday and Saturday, the new moon, and hit a patch of like almost 73-degree water, like 72.4. Saw some barracuda, some other things cruising in the kelp, about 80 feet. Weren't seeing any other fish. Wasn't much current. Tried a couple spots. So I'm sitting there, and it felt like it lasted a couple seconds. It probably lasted like 1.5 seconds. But out of nowhere, two probably 50-ish pounds or so, not huge, bluefin came skyrocketing on the edge of the kelp bed right by me. Had a 55-inch bly, couldn't get it moved in time. They were gone. Didn't want to pop some last Hail Mary shot because I had a 100-foot float line with no float. I'm in the kelp, breakaway, watch it disappear into the abyss with some tuna. But that was pretty incredible to be diving in the kelp and get buzzed like that. So it would have been awesome if I got video, but it's burned in my brain. I'll never forget that. I would have loved to have got a shot, but the story's so great.
And then I think that just tells you how crazy it was the last couple of weeks. If you're seeing tuna in the kelp, my God.
Yeah. I mean, right on the edge of the bed. So my shoulders were maybe like out of the kelp. The rest of my body was in, and I couldn't believe it. Um, Never forget that too. They came in so fast though. Um, it's amazing that an animal can move at that speed to get a look at something.
Oh, they're freaking torpedoes, man. They're legit bullets. I think it would have been crazy. Just man shoots tuna in kelp forest.
Oh God! Can you
legend
imagine
legend has been made on a shore dive.
how many boats would have been running out to the islands?
Oh my god, that would have been epic. Well, guys, this was an awesome series. I hope you guys found it enjoyable. Definitely hit up Eric at Eric_J Anderson. Say what's up. Say you appreciate him. And we'll see you on the next one. Dive safe, everyone. Bye.